Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Kollectiv Knowledge. I am your host, Shane Barrett. You can find me on Twitter at FFShaneB. And joining me tonight is a very good friend of mine who is currently a columnist, podcaster, and senior digital media editor for IBT Media. He's co-founder of 32 and 32 with his wife, co-host of Edge of Chaos and co-founder of FF Thieves, Nate Polvogt, who I don't know if I said that last name right. He'll correct me in a minute. But he is also our second collective member to join us on Kollectiv Knowledge because Nate will be writing Dynasty for us in season. Nate, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing lovely. You said my name right. So, good for you, man. People don't say it right the first time. I can't tell you. Sometimes it's so complicated. I wish that I'd just taken Jen's last name because it's Johnson.
Yeah, that would have been easy.
Yeah, poor Jen. But yeah, I'm great, man. I'm stoked to be here. Always happy to chop it up with you, my friend.
Yes, sir. Same here. So everyone probably knows that this show was born out of me wanting to get to know people in the fantasy football industry more, whether that be my friends or people that I'm not as familiar with. And then share it with you guys because I'm sure as you all interact with each other, you maybe don't know as much about the people that you're interacting with on a daily basis. So we're gonna talk a little bit about how you got started in fantasy, and then just some rapid fire questions. But before we do that, I do have an announcement to make. I am now partnering with Thrive Fantasy app, so come prop up on Thrive Fantasy this season. They are a daily fantasy sports and esports app for player props. You choose 10 out of the 20 available player props to build your lineup each week, and it's based on fantasy value for both the over and the under and how likely it is to hit. So then you pick one. You hit the props and rack up the most points to win shares of the prize pool. If you use code FFShaneB or you use the link that I'm going to drop in my profile on Twitter later today, you get an instant 100% deposit match up to $100 for new users, and you are guaranteed for their NFL contest for week one. It's a $20 entry, and $20K goes to first prize. So download the Thrive Fantasy app on the App Store or Play Store, or go to their website, www.thrivefantasy.com. I can't talk today. Sign up and prop up today. So, Nate, with that being said, and thank you for bearing through my poor reading skills.
Of course, Thrive is awesome. Sorry, I'm just going to just real quick. Thrive is awesome, and y'all should sign up. Use Shane's code. Sign up for Thrive. It's awesome.
Sir, thank you. I appreciate that. So, Nate, we'll start with our first question. It's always the first question. When was your first fantasy league?
1992.
Oh my goodness.
It was on paper.
Okay.
It was my dad's work league. He worked for, at the time it was called EchoStar. You now know them as Dish Network.
Okay.
In the very early days of satellite, when the satellites were still the massive ones. So it was a commitment to have satellite TV back then.
Absolutely.
Anyway, right. So they had a work league, and my dad commissioned it, and it was one quarterback, one running back, two wide receivers, a tight end, a kicker, and a defense. It was it was very simply 4 points for a touchdown, 1 point for every 25 passing yards, 1 point for every 10 receiving or rushing yards. Nothing else. Very simple. As basic as it got.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad and I would sit at the dining room table watching Monday Night Football with Dan Deerdorf, Al Michaels, and Frank Gifford in their yellow jackets and scoring out of the box score on the paper, going through everybody's sheet and tabulating scores. And then at the end of the Monday night game, my dad would finish it up if there were any Monday night game players. But yeah, that was my first experience playing fantasy football.
Very cool. So with that being a work league for your dad, is it still going on?
It is most definitely not.
Okay.
Yes.
I've gotten the most for this question. So let me ask you this: what's your longest league that's still going right now?
So I've got a home league with Jen. It's Jen's sister and brother-in-law, a handful of other people, like friends, family. Actually, her brother is also in it, and brother's girlfriend, and we've added parts and pieces here along the way. We've been together for, I think, 8 or 9 years, something like that.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So what are the settings for that league?
So we shifted this year because I got involved in the community on Twitter early on in 2020 and found out about a lot of things I did not know about fantasy football. I'd always been a very, like, as people like to call it, standard type player. I'd heard of PPR, had never played PPR. I had heard of Superflex, had never played Superflex before. We used to be a keeper league. I know, right? Real basic for a guy that's in like 30 leagues right now, which is part of why I'm in 30 leagues.
Me both. Yes, yeah. Same.
There's a lot to learn. So now we're not tied in premium yet. There's a vote coming on that ahead of the season here. We're three player keeper league.
Okay.
And it's like your standard 6 points for a passing touchdown, 6 points per touchdown, basically. Full PPR. We still have kicker and defense. Nothing too crazy.
Okay.
So
cool. Very cool. Next question. What are your favorite league settings to play? And I kind of like following up what you just said, how the reason you got into so many leagues is because there's so much to learn. So what's your favorite league settings?
Well, I like IDP a lot. I'm learning to like Devi a lot, thanks to you.
You're welcome.
Get me in a Devi league. I really like IDP because I like the defensive aspect of it. We're actually converting a lot of my home league players into a dynasty IDP league. We're still drafting. We've been drafting for like 2.5 months now, but it's fine because nobody else in that league is as passionate about football as Jen and I are.
Okay.
So we get it. And they didn't understand why we needed to start the draft in May. I'm like, you'll see. And now we're like mid-August, like, we need a clock now, guys. Like, yes. I love the defensive aspect of throwing in drafting linebackers, cornerbacks, safeties, defensive ends, edge rushers, like doing all of that. And I like tight end premium a lot.
Okay.
Big fan of tight end premium.
So with tight end premium, do you like, how big of a premium do you prefer?
I like a +1 is all.
Okay. Gotcha.
Like it doesn't need I'm not in a league that's higher than 2 PPR for a tight end. I don't like the idea of going higher because I think that skews the field, and there are so few top tier tight ends that basically if you're not amongst the first like 3 or 4 picks in the league like that, you're not going to win. So
yeah. So I'm kind of a jerk. There's a league that I started. It's free, but it's 11. I think it's 11 stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. No, I think it's 14 starters on both sides of the ball. So it's IDP offense. Yes. Starting 2 tight ends. And now I got to go look because I can't remember the settings off the top of my head, but I think it's a 2 tight end premium too.
Well, have you seen anything? You've seen the Chaos League. We kind of made it pretty public when we were drafting. Yeah. So one of the rules,
one tight end premium.
Okay. See, that's cool.
I've got Kelsey and Waller.
Oh, geez. That's not even fair, dude. That's not even fair. But you got them. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Love it.
But yeah. So tell us about the Chaos League because it's chaos, but it's so entertaining to keep up with.
So we had some crazy rules for the draft. One of them being you couldn't draft a position back-to-back. So you couldn't go running back. You couldn't go, or quarterback, whatever. You couldn't do that. You had to have one homer pick, whether you liked it or not. So it didn't matter. You had to have at least one. So during the season, this was my rule that I got to create. The team with the lowest score for the week, cumulative score for the week, has to drop one of the players they started that week to waivers.
That is honestly, I think that's my favorite rule, and the fact that you made it just makes it that much better. It's just pure evil.
It is pure evil.
It is,
but you know what's even worse? We have what is it? It's worse than Scott Fishbowl for the incompletions. It's like I think it's 1.69 points, negative points per incompletion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not fun. Not fun. We had a rule created by Matthew Berry too, and I can't remember what it is. I'd have to bring up the rule sheet, but that was kind of cool getting him to create a rule for us.
Yeah.
So, and it's going to be a wild season, a very wild season.
It will be. And this is year 2 of it, correct?
No, this is our first year. We did the startup in like June.
Got it.
Yeah.
What y'all started last year. Okay, so what is your favorite position in football?
The position I wanted to play, safety.
Interesting.
If I had ever played
safety,
I like playing defense. Like that's always in any sport I've ever played. That's been my focus. When I played basketball, I was a rebound hog, and I just played a lot of defense. When I played baseball, I was more adept on the field than I was in the batter's box. Not that I was poor at hitting, but I focused more on my defensive game. The one year I played inline hockey, I played goalie. Partially because I couldn't skate, but also because I like playing goalie. I actually picked baseball back up in my like late 20s for a couple seasons, competitive baseball, and I played catcher for 2 years. No, my knees still hurt from that, but we won a championship, so that was cool. Safety is that position where it's like outside of the mic linebacker, that's the quarterback of the defense, in my opinion, because they're judging coverages and free safety, especially like that guy floats in most schemes and is like trying to figure out what's going on, and they're back getting to see the layout of things. They're not moving too much. Maybe they decide to blitz. Maybe they drop back into coverage. And Steve Atwater is like pretty much you are a stud. It's true.
Today, but thank you.
If Nick says it, it's true.
This is true.
Yeah. Steve Atwater is my favorite player of all time.
Okay.
Him leveling Christian Okoye while mic'd up on Monday Night Football when I was a kid was like one of those like sports moments to me where I was like, yes, I want to do that.
So let me ask you this. Do you remember the Auburn-Georgia game where Junior Rosegreen annihilated Reggie Brown?
I don't watch college football anymore. I haven't watched college football in like
probably 2003 or 2004.
Ooh, the Nate. You know what? I probably did see it, and I don't remember it, but I probably did see it then. If it was 2003, 2004.
Then you need to go, and everyone needs to go look that up, because that is one of my favorite clips. It would be a totally illegal now.
Of course.
He absolutely destroyed Reggie Brown, and like I still to this day will go watch that. And the reason I asked that is because he played safety.
Okay. Oh yeah, I'm going to look it up then. I love that.
All right. So next question for you is, when did you start making content for fantasy football?
My first column ever dropped on July 16th of 2020.
Okay. What was it?
It was the first kind of like an introduction to myself with In Between Media. Okay. It was mostly just kind of like a piece about who I am and my football philosophy, my fantasy football philosophy.
Yeah.
Mostly. It was really basic. I wasn't a writer back then. I didn't.
Cool, man. I've been thinking about writing a piece like that myself, honestly.
You should do it.
So what made you start? What made you go, I want to write a column? Or even with you, I want to start a podcast?
So Jen and I have been talking about it for probably like 8-9 years, wanting to do something like this, get involved in this industry, in sports, some nature. She loves sports. We're baseball nuts, used to be baseball nuts until football took over our lives. She's a hockey fanatic, huge Avs fan. She played lacrosse in high school, a little bit in college. Kind of a tomboy when it comes to sports. If we're being honest, she gets it because the way her dad raised her, like her dad, like had her talking about the Indians and the Rockies when she was a kid, or I guess now they're the Guardians or whatever.
I love that.
So, right.
Hey, Jay.
Hi, Jay. I'm going to see you tomorrow. I'm bringing a Red Sox flask. I hope you don't hate me for it.
Apparently,
it's true. I love it. I'm wearing I figured it's about my life. I've wore my Colorado shirt and Hotbox Batch. Go get yourself a bottle.
Agreed. Second that. Shout out Bo McBrayer.
Shout out Bo. Jay totally threw me off track.
It's all right. We were talking about why you started writing and getting into the sports industry. You were talking about Jen and how her dad raised her to be just a huge sports fan, kind of a tomboy when it came to sports.
Yes. So, and she's very competitive, and we love winning fantasy football. And so before we were even doing any of this, like we were watching 4 games at a time every Sunday in our basement. At her insistence, we basically built a football haven in our basement. She wanted it.
Lucky SOB.
Dude, tell me about it. Believe me, I know. Because so she used to be a property manager, and they remodeled her property, her clubhouse, and they got rid of this movie theater they had. And they were going to throw this HD projector in the trash and all these surround sound speakers. So I was like, no, we'll put that in our basement. So we put it in our basement with like some other donated TVs so we can watch 4 games at a time. We were doing that before we were ever creating content, but we talked about it. Like we watch so much freaking football. Like, how do we figure this out? And that's where 32 and 32 was born 8 or 9 years ago. But we didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
We didn't know how to do it, like what equipment we needed, what software. I'm really not technologically inclined when it comes to a lot of this stuff.
I'm not either. I sell software for a living. I tell people I'm the most technologically illiterate 26-year-old that sells software in the entire planet.
Dude, it's hard and it's like ever changing. And we just didn't know. We're looking at like, well, here's your podcast setup. And like, it's like a mixer and it's like $500 for your setup. And this is what we're finding. And we just didn't know what to do. So the pandemic came. And we had already been working at home together for like a year and a half when all that stuff happened. Probably a year and a half. And I found fantasy football Twitter. I nuked my old Twitter account because it had become too political for me. Didn't want to deal with it. Completely nuked it. Started a completely new account. Just started following sports people. Then I think the first one I saw Troy King tweet something in like...
That's a good one.
It was but it was like April of 2020. And like we had the same amount of followers. I don't know how I ended up seeing his stuff. And then I started finding all these other people, like Joe Bryant, Scott Fish I heard about. And I started hearing about the Scott Fish Bowl thing, and I was intrigued. And like middle of June of 2020, I'm sitting outside. I'm scrolling through my limited Twitter, and I see someone retweet a tweet from Seth Woolcock.
Okay.
In Between Media is looking for writers for fantasy football analysis. If you're interested, DM me. I had never used DMs in Twitter. It seemed like a thing that was like, why would I direct message somebody on Twitter? This is basically like Instagram for sports.
Yeah.
Hi, Gary. Love you, buddy. Thanks for tuning in, man. So you know what? Screw it. I'm going to DM him. I've always wanted to do this. I've reached out to numerous people in the industry about it and gotten minimal response. The most response I got was from Matthew Berry. Really? And this was in like October of 2019 when I started my Twitter account.
Yeah.
Because I was like, my wife and I really want to do something content related. And he quote tweeted me and it was kind of snarky and I took it the wrong way and was like, you're a dick. But then he followed it up like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to come across that way. Like, check this out and this out and this out. And it was really cool.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. And like, I remembered that when I saw Seth's tweet. It's like, okay, here's an opportunity. So I told Jen, and she's like, well, hopefully you hear back from him. And I heard back from him that night.
Nice.
We talked like 2 weeks later. He's like, well, if you want to write, like, okay, let's go. I was the third person to join In Between Media outside of Seth and his co-founder, Tom, who is no longer with In Between Media. And here we are today. It just snowballed. I think I had 26 followers when I reached out to Seth.
Wow. Are you serious?
It might not have even been that many. It might have actually been less. Jeff Bell, who just said hello, hi Jeff, unearthed an old tweet of mine from, I think it was like early June, maybe late June of 2020. And I tweeted about like, I have 26 followers. I'm thinking I'm going to start talking about fantasy football more. Hey, maybe I'm going to try and create some content or something. And there was one person, I got like 3 likes and 1 comment on it.
I love that.
It's Jeff's great at that, man. He unearths some of the weirdest stuff, and it's so great. If you're not following that man, that man, go follow at For Whom J Bell Tolls. He's the man.
Highly entertaining.
Ooh. And very well spoken.
Yes.
Everybody who's freaking out about Jonnu Smith and how good he looked tonight, Jeff has been telling you to pick up Jonnu Smith for months. Yep.
And if you follow me and Nate, we've been telling you, well, I've been telling you all off season. Nate's at least been telling you for the last week, go get Baker Mayfield.
Go get Baker. I've been saying it since last year in Dynasty.
Yep.
Go get Baker.
Yep. I completely agree. But it's not about me. It's about you. So what is your favorite thing about the fantasy football community?
So I had a funny conversation with the girl who cut my hair the other day, who did a fantastic job from Lady Jane's. She asked me what I did for a living. It's like, I create content for fantasy football. She's like, oh, well, that's interesting. It's like, I'm surprised that there's people who do that. Like, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. There are a lot of people who are very invested. I kind of explained all that to her, and she's like, well, like, are you in a lot of leagues? I was like, yeah, but I'm doing like this league for charity and this league for charity, doing Polly's Playoffs for charity. I'm doing Scott Fishbowl for charity, and kind of explained all that. And she's blown away. Like, wow, y'all are doing like charity leagues and stuff. That's my favorite part. The charity aspect is my favorite part, because it brings all of us together in ways that we might not be brought together because we have a common cause, like ending Alzheimer's. Fantasy Cares is an amazing charity that raises a ton of money through Scott Fishbowl. We have the Warrior Bowl. There are so many. We have Brighter Skies that's doing things to help with like bullying and suicide prevention. And what a cool thing for a group of people to get together for and just do it.
Yeah.
$1 from every draft guide, In Between Media draft guide, is going to a foundation for young writers that maybe don't have the ways or means to be able to study journalism and writing in a meaningful way. The Giving League is another one. And I love that. I love that it's this group of people who are, there's a lot of us that realize that we're playing a fake game based on a sport that is also a game.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money to be made. Sure. These athletes get paid a lot of money. It's entertainment on entertainment. But we're taking it and we're doing things like Scott Fishbowl, like Polly's Playoff, like the Giving League, like the Warrior Bowl, like Brighter Skies, and doing these things to Baby Bowl, doing these things to help other people. And it's such a generous and caring and giving community. Fantasy in Session, doing the tournament for Black Lives Matter. Yep. Yeah, Jen's in that tournament, which is awesome. I love it. I love to see these things.
They asked me to join it, and I just don't have the financial means to join it right now. And I'm honestly probably in too many leagues. But I told him, I was like, dude, whatever you need, send me tweets, send me stuff. I will promote this for you, because and that's another thing that I want to add to this part of the charity aspect. If you can't give money, give time, give spots on your timeline even.
Exactly.
And there's so many ways that you can help without giving money necessarily. So I mean, I totally agree with you. Obviously, I mean, I run my own charity tournament, but the support and love that I've gotten surrounding that is incredible.
Well, and I mean, there's so many. Our community is so charitable and thoughtful for the most part. There are definitely parts of it that aren't as great, and I understand that. But it's social media; that's what happens.
Yeah,
It's kind of a given.
it's people giving their opinions and then
I've got
arguing
it.
about
Exactly. That's going to happen. And there are going to be people who are nasty and take it way too far and do things that are inappropriate. That's always going to happen anywhere you are. And that's just a part of life, unfortunately. Wish it wasn't, but it is. But the core of this community is so kind and giving and helpful. It's like, okay, so Seth. I've never met Seth in person. Seth, I can genuinely say, is one of my best friends on the planet. He knows more about me than my family knows about me. And that's saying something because I grew up with them, but like he understands things about me that they'll never get. He understands, and it's been such a welcoming thing for me too, because I needed this community when I found them, and it has changed my life in such a positive way.
I completely agree. 110%.
Yep.
Okay, last question before we go to rapid fire is, what are your hobbies outside of fantasy football?
There are things outside of fantasy football?
Just a couple.
I mean, really, I like to play my drums, but I haven't had them set up in probably like 5 or 6 years. Just haven't had space for them.
Of course you're a drummer.
Of course I'm a drummer. Yes, of course I'm a drummer. I'm not saying I'm a good drummer. I used to be a good drummer. I'm not anymore, probably. I guess music would be a big thing. Hiking. Jen and I love to hike. We live in Colorado, so like you almost have to hike.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to because I don't ski or snowboard. But yeah, we love to hike. And
what division are you in Scott Fishbowl?
Rage Against the Machine.
Oh, that's a good one.
Dude, with Will Harris, man.
Yeah.
Will Harris, Peter Lawrence is in my division, and then I'm going to say his name wrong. Andrew Kylio, Andrew Kylio, Corbin Dubois, a couple other guys. It's been a great division. I love.
I don't think he is. I think he's in another. I think he's in Corn. Ron Hesterman's not in your division, right?
No, he's in. I know what division he's in too.
I think he's not. In Corn.
Is there a Corn division, really?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah. Dude, that's what I love about this year's Scott Fishbowl is there's so many divisions that I would have been totally fine with being in, because it's just like it's music and there's just so many good bands out there, and I've got really interesting music tastes.
Dude, you and me both. What's your favorite band right now?
Favorite band of all time and probably forever will be Green Day.
Ooh, interesting. I like their older stuff.
Yeah.
Dookie, Kerplunk.
Yep. I actually just went to their concert.
You went to the what was it called? It was Green Day, Weezer, and Fall Out Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
I love Weezer. I saw them. It was so they did the Blue album and then they went on hiatus because Rivers Cuomo went back to Harvard to finish his degree. So they didn't play, they didn't do anything. It was after Pinkerton. And then they had recorded an album and did like a small tour. So I saw them in this smaller venue in Denver before the Green album came out. And it was a big deal because they hadn't played in like 8 or 9 or 10 years.
Yeah.
They are awesome live, man.
It was so much fun.
It was much.
Rivers Cuomo has a pandemic haircut and mustache. He's He is an interesting looking dude right now, but it was just like this is amazing. Like because like I grew up on some Weezer songs too. And then they've got Beverly Hills and some newer stuff that I'm not even as familiar with. But then they played a new song, All My Favorite Songs, at the end. Love that song. I've been listening to it every single day. Like when we get in the car, even my 3-year-old is now asking me, "Can we listen to All My Favorite Songs?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah, we can."
So Jackson's favorite song as of late is "Gone Daddy Gone" from the Violent Femmes.
Nice.
Yeah, we have an interesting like blend of music taste in this house because like I'll go from Lamb of God and Slayer to Rage Against the Machine to NoFX, Green Day. I'll throw in some like ska, and then I'll round out the night with Wu-Tang, Deltron, Hieroglyphics, maybe throw some Duffy in there or Billie Eilish, Johnny Cash. Like I'm all over the place. Old school country is great. I don't listen to any of the new stuff because it's just like pop.
Okay. Bo has brought this up in our group chat. Luke Combs. I think you will like Luke Combs.
He has brought that up, and I have resisted thus far, but I'll try it. I have a 3-hour plane ride tomorrow, and Jen is not sitting next to me because United. We can talk about that some other time. We're not sitting together, so I have plenty of time to listen to music.
All right. That wraps up our fantasy football questions. Now we're going to hit our rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
I am always ready.
All right, good. I love it. First rapid fire question. Favorite NFL team?
Denver Broncos.
Favorite sport that's not football?
Baseball.
Favorite food?
Mexican.
Favorite sports movie?
Field of Dreams.
Hey, they're playing at that field tonight.
I just found that out this afternoon from John Helmkamp.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. They're playing tonight there for, I think, first time since the movie's been filmed. So, favorite non-sports movie?
Oh, anything by Quentin Tarantino. Oh, actually, I'm going to say right now it's Baby Driver.
Okay. Favorite band?
That's so hard. And I read these questions. I've been thinking about it all day, and I still can't. Favorite all-time band?
Yeah. Or right now. Whatever's
favorite.
Easier. Tool. That's a good one. Favorite adult beverage?
Rye whiskey.
Favorite TV show?
Right now?
Yeah.
The Bold Type.
Okay. I haven't even heard of that one.
It's you're gonna look it up and be like, you're watching that, but it's really good.
Okay.
Jen got me hooked. Jen got me hooked on it.
All right. I can respect that. Jen's a smart lady, so
she is. It's true.
She's got good taste too. I mean, clearly she picked you. But
she still has good taste.
Favorite defensive player
of all time or now?
Let's go now because I think earlier you said all time it was
Steve Atwater.
Hey, yep. I remembered.
Way to go, man. Von Miller.
I love it. Favorite offensive player all time and right now?
Okay, so all time is probably going to be Terrell Davis.
Okay.
Right now is going to be Laviska Shenault.
Ooh, okay.
Dude, I'm a Laviska Shenault stan, bro.
I know you are.
He went to see you.
Yeah.
He did.
Yep. So, go Buffaloes? Is that right?
Go Buffaloes.
Awesome.
They haven't been good since 1990, but,
That's okay. All right, Nate, thank you so much for coming on. This was a blast, as per usual, as it is when I work with you. This wraps up this episode of Kollectiv Knowledge. Make sure that you guys follow Nate at JanateJackFF. And make sure you follow his stuff at IBT Media and 32 and 32 and Edge of Chaos and FF Thieves. And now @FF_collective.
That's
And make
right.
sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube page. And then like and rate and review the podcast @Fantasy Nightcap. Follow me on Twitter @FFShaneB. Cheers, ladies and gentlemen.